I mean, first is of course to kind of set expectations on many different layers of the organization, but communicate clear expectations. You know, where are we heading, and how fast are we heading there? And that's, you know, down into targets, but it's also up on a more visionary level. You know, what are we building, and what big problem have we set out to solve here? Then in terms of how do you channel that energy, you know, to the organization, to make everybody excited on that mission, I think if you simplify, it's kind of three channels that you could do this through. You could do it through kind of written leadership. You can sit and write emails and things like this, or procedures and so on. Or you can have oral leadership. You're communicating a town hall, you're calling people, and you know, in a meeting you're explaining where you want to go. And then you can lead by example. Just doing, showing people, you know, this is how we do it, this is how we act in a situation like this, in a crisis, etc. But I think it's helpful to think about these three channels and think about, you know, yourself. Where is my strength? And nowadays, actually, when there's a lot of written communication, it's emails, it's messages, it's all kinds of different means where you're writing your message. Like impactful writing can actually be a real asset for a leader, which it wasn't, you know, maybe 30 years ago. So when you're recruiting a leader, actually you should think about, is this a good writer or not? It's a pretty important thing, because this person will probably communicate, I don't know, 80% through writing. Then, of course, it's always impactful if you can speak in a convincing way and you can get people excited, you know, orally, in a meeting, in a town hall, etc. And then, ultimately, is this a character that will lead by example? And is this a character in terms of leadership that is suitable for the type of example that you need to set in that phase for the company? If we go back to that hustler in the early phase of a company, the leader you need to lead by example in that phase obviously needs to be ready to hustle. If you have a leader that is ready for very senior stakeholders and nice meetings with big brands, he's not going to set good examples in that hustling phase. So that's also a dimension to keep in mind when thinking about leadership in that phase. And in terms of, you know, if you go back to yourself, and regardless of if you're good or bad at these different three channels, I think you need to set some sort of communication schedule for yourself. When to communicate with your organization, on what frequency and in what format. For example, a town hall. A town hall is a very efficient tool, and it's something you should be doing recurringly. But it's something that is easy to do, you know, once or twice and then forget about it, and then kind of feel like, oh, we did a town hall, you know, a while back. We don't need to do a town hall again. But I think you probably need to set a quarterly schedule or something like this. Maybe it needs to be more frequent in the beginning, to communicate in person with excitement, explain the vision, where are we now, where are we heading, and what have we gone through. And similar kind of with a monthly update through an email or something like that, to make the organization aware of what's going on. A phenomenon here for many company builders is that when you're building your company, you're playing out a lot of scenarios in your own mind all the time. You are doing kind of A, B, C, D scenarios. You are thinking about, okay, if we close this big client, we're going to do this and that. This is, you know, 5 potential growth levers in terms of new business areas to launch. We are now cutting down on spending in this area because we want to invest in another area. You're playing this out all in your mind, and the organization knows nothing. So, like, from your perspective, all your decisions made a lot of sense because you've already played out all these different scenarios. You know the trade-offs, and you know how you have changed your mind over the recent past. But for everybody sitting around you in the landscape, they have no clue how this storyline has played out in your mind. And if you have the schedule, it helps you exert that message to the organization so they don't feel entirely lost when change is coming. because change is going to keep on coming in these companies on a very high frequency. And then they need to be part of that journey in your mind. And you need to make sure that they get snapshots of your mind on a certain frequency.